Fantasy stories do have a resonance to them, like an information that speaks to something in you that is deeper than the usual day-to-day reality we tend to live in here. And on that level, it has a meaning that when you go into that, it unveils something in you. It resonates with something deeply in you and reminds you of a potential. It's a potential that very few people have stepped into in this world, but some have. It speaks to us because it tells us of part of ourselves, not of our little selves, but of our bigger picture self that really exists. But for that to open up, it requires a ripening and a coming into something here on this earth. So the basic setup in a lot of fantasy stories, also in fairy tales, of course, but in fantasy stories it's often very specific that there is a person here in this world, and usually a loser, not a very successful person in terms of this world. And then there is this complete other world. And for some reasons and through some circumstances, these characters come into the other world. And there they have another role, another function. And this setup describes something of what this life here is really about. It is about you moving through this world in ways that are invisible to your mind, invisible to the world, but they're still there. They're like deep resonances in your heart. When you fulfill these resonances by being them, in the midst of this world that is not of this resonance or resonances. This world is made up of very dense frequency. But if you follow along this fine subtle frequencies, heart qualities, and move them in a way that they become a thread, a golden thread, and living in that thread, moving along with it in a way that it builds a real pathway, like a golden pathway on which you walk. Then at some point, walking into the horizon, you actually do transmute on the inside in a way that gives you access to the other world. So you actually find yourself there. You wake up there in the other world or another world, because the other world is made up of many levels and dimensions, and there is usually one specific world that is most in resonance with the makeup of you as a soul. And you wake up there to come into a function. And that function is only available when you have gone through what you had to go through here. So this isn't something that is given to you for granted or because of a coincidence or something. It comes to you because you're ready for it. And if you're ready for it, you will start to move in the other world. Parallel and in synchronicity with your movement in this world. Or to put it the other way, your movement in this world will be in synchronicity with your movement in that world. So you move in the seen and in the unseen. Your movements in the seen have a reflection in the unseen, and your movements in the unseen have a reflection in the seen. But that is, well, that is true for everyone. What you do in this life will show on the other side. It will accurately, precisely, to the least of the least micro movement inside that you had in this world. That is what your form on the other side is. You're really creating your afterlife, so to speak. It's not really an afterlife, but talking on this timeline on which we perceive ourselves, let's call it an afterlife. Because it's after death that it all reveals. As long as you're alive, you're still, it's kind of covered, depending on how thick your level of illusion is. Which also means that it's becoming unraveled and uncovered depending on how clear your sense of truth in the midst of this world illusion is. So that other world really exists. And if this is for you, what I'm talking about, meaning if this has a real resonance in you, it vibrates something, and you kind of know, wow, something is spoken here that has a deep meaning and a deep reality for me. If that is the case, it is because something there is actively calling you, and you here are actively responding to that other side calling. So as you move on with that, there will eventually, as a fruit of what you've been here, there will be that synchronicity, that moving as one sameness there and here, while you're still embodied. Being embodied is actually food for the other side. It can deplete you on the other side when you're moving in parasitarian ways. It can destroy you on the other side if you're moving in really evil ways. It can damage your soul, or it can really massively enlighten you on the other side. It means it can create a form of light in you as a soul that exceeds the light of the soul as what it is already. It's like the light is always in the soul, but when you realize, live, and embody that here on earth, the light of your soul is like thousands, if not million times enlightened. And there you move in ways and dimensions and realities that are so beyond this world, but they're activated because of you being that in this world. If you have a resonance to what I'm saying, move in it. Move in it in ways your mind cannot comprehend, but you do, because there's this resonance. Move on with the resonance. Yet let yourself be most subtly guided, but by not so much by other beings. That may be part of it, but it may also be a distraction, by the way. Let yourself be guided by the highest golden light intuition that is available to you. And into that resonance you go and you move. Then an otherworldly reality will open up. And yeah, see you there. It's for a reason. If this isn't like fantasy to you, but in some way you know that this is meant to be reality for you, then it's for a reason. It has a meaning to it, deep meaning, soul meaning, and you have a function there. You have a function there, which is to reflect here.